Hi guys, and welcome back to F the Noise podcast with your host Lauren Fiorenza Gill. It is so great to have you back for another weekly episode of F the Noise. Today I would say is probably the most sought after podcast episode that I've been asked to record. And I've been putting it off because sometimes it can cause a bit of controversy. But recently I asked on my Instagram story what you guys wanted to see in terms of episodes for the year, any specific topics. And you guys all said the same thing. You guys asked for a diet and cancer podcast episode, aka what should I eat when I have cancer and I'm going through chemotherapy. You asked, I'm here to deliver. Before we start, if you haven't already, don't forget to follow this podcast, F the Noise, on Spotify. And it would mean the absolute world to me if you guys could support my YouTube channel at Lauren Fiorenza Gill, where I post all the weekly episodes. And you can also find my other vlogs on there too. So that is travel vlogs, lifestyle vlogs, little glow up tips and hacks, hair growth hacks. So as a disclaimer for this podcast episode, I am not a nutritional therapist. I am not a doctor. I am just someone who has a personal experience of having stage 4 cancer, going through chemotherapy, and now I'm in remission, living my life after cancer. So what I say today is solely me repeating what was told to me from a professional and qualified nutritional therapist. So before I started my cancer journey, I wanted to ensure that my body was equipped in the best way possible to recover fast after my chemotherapy had finished, to withstand the chemotherapy during the treatment, and just to ensure that I was getting everything I needed and more in terms of nutrition and diet. So I had a friend at the time who was a nutritional therapist who basically found this lady who, again, was another qualified nutritional therapist, but specialised in cancer and specialised in the more holistic side of cancer, I would say, of beating cancer through diet and not the Western medicine of chemotherapy, and had seen success. But for my personal journey, I decided to go both routes. So I wanted to go Western and have the chemotherapy, but I also wanted to go the more holistic, natural side of diet, lifestyle changes, all of that sort of thing. So this lady specialized in cancer specific holistic healing therapies, as well as was a qualified nutritional therapist. So both people in my time had experience of helping people with cancer through diet and food, and different foods bring different properties essentially. And that's what we brought to the table with my personal experience of going through chemotherapy. So I've got a big booklet here. If you are watching the episode, you will see. And I'm essentially just going to repeat what plan we did for myself. And essentially in this episode, it's going to be me repeating what I did for my own personal journey. It's going to be repeating what both very qualified, very experienced nutritional therapists had prescribed for me in terms of what diet to eat, what foods to eliminate, and what foods to introduce. And I'm also going to go through some little recipe inspiration ideas for you guys as well. So when I sat down with both nutritional therapists to put together this holistic healing side of how do I keep my body strong going through chemotherapy, and how do I make my recovery after chemotherapy faster by building strength in my body, building that immune system back up after the chemotherapy, and by making sure that I am eating the right stuff during chemotherapy to keep my body strong. So my personal diet plan during my chemotherapy journey basically came down to 3 initial aims. Number 1 was to reduce inflammation in the body. The chemotherapy can literally spike inflammation in the body, and also cancer itself can increase inflammation in the body. So these nutritional therapists that I met with basically said that is aim number 1, reduce inflammation. Aim number 2 was to improve the health of the liver. So as you can imagine, again, lots of chemotherapy, lots of chemicals. So to keep and maintain the health of my liver was a massive one, because the liver's function is basically to get rid of any impurities in the body. So we've got to keep that safe and healthy and strong. And finally, tip number 3 for me during and after chemotherapy was to improve my immune system and antioxidant status to prevent relapse. Essentially, making sure my immune system is strong throughout the chemotherapy journey, and it is strong for as soon as I finish, keeping and maintaining that immune system at a good level to ensure that my body can heal and recover and prevent relapsing. So with those 3 key principles in mind, and with those 3 key aims and objectives of my personal diet plan going through chemotherapy, it then meant that I had to have some dietary changes and some dietary introductions to my lifestyle and my current diet. So I'm going to go through each one now. And so I'd recommend you get a pen and paper or get your notes out ready, because you might want to jot these down, because these are really key tips that are founded off facts, that are founded off research, that most qualified nutritional therapists know about the effects of cancer and what it does to your body and what you can do with your diet to help your body maintain a strong immune system. So the first dietary requirement that I went by to meet those 3 key aims of reducing inflammation, improving the health of the liver, and keeping my immune system strong was to eliminate dairy from my diet. Now, I know this is a controversial one. A lot of people will say you don't need to, but the nutritional therapists that I went with, and I went with 2, both said the same thing. All research can basically show that dairy is inflammatory to the body. It will spike your inflammation levels. So if my objectives going through cancer is to keep the inflammation levels down, because the chemotherapy is already going to spike them and the cancer itself spikes inflammation in the body due to the stress and trauma, it is so important to keep the inflammation down. So by doing that, we remove dairy from the diet. Dairy is also hard to digest. It's full of antibiotics and other hormones that are pumped into the animals to produce dairy. So essentially, it's full of a lot of nasty stuff. Now, a lot of people have dairy in their diet because they need it for calcium and whatever. For me, my pure goal going through chemotherapy was to reduce inflammation, and therefore we eliminated the dairy. Another reason why I avoided dairy when going through my chemotherapy treatment and when I had cancer was because dairy contains something called insulin-like growth factor. So this essentially helps a baby calf go into a great big cow very quickly. And because of this, it's not a good idea to take dairy if you have got cancer or rogue cancer cells, because just like it can turn a baby calf into a giant cow very fast, it can also cause the rogue cancer cells to multiply and grow. And therefore, you should eliminate dairy from your diet if you have cancer and are going through chemotherapy. The second dietary requirement that I lived by when I had cancer was to continue daily juicing. So my mum, every morning, whether I was in hospital overnight or at home or at my apartment, she would make me fresh daily juices every single morning, and that would be my breakfast to take when I had my tablets. If you think about it, it is what it is on the tin, and this is why juicing is so good. Every single fruit and vegetable that you put into that juicer is natural, it's healthy, it contains all the anti-inflammatory properties from each vegetable and each fruit, and therefore to have it all in one go and blitz it up and drink it, imagine it just flooding the body with all the nutrients that the body needs. And that essentially is really important for your immune system. So I did daily juices from start to finish, and I genuinely put my fast recovery down to daily juicing every single morning from the start of my chemotherapy journey all the way through to the end and after as well. So continuing juicing every single day after you finish chemotherapy is crucial for the body's immune system to heal and recover. And 2 months after I finished chemotherapy, I was off in Ibiza for a friend's surprise 30th, and I felt fine. Yes, I was tired, but I could do that trip. My periods came back as well 2 months after I finished chemotherapy, and that's quite a rare thing to happen. And they came back regular. So I think by maintaining my body's health and well-being throughout chemotherapy and after, through juicing and avoiding these certain foods that I'll talk about, was key to my recovery. The third dietary recommendation was sourcing organic produce. So I actually couldn't keep this up all the time because it's really expensive, and I wasn't working. I had to leave work because I had cancer and I had to do my chemotherapy. So organic produce is quite pricey, and so I couldn't do fresh organic produce all the time. But if you are in a position where you can afford that, you can get it, it's easy to access, then my nutritional therapist recommended getting organic produce over non-organic. And the reason being is because they basically said the ingestion of pesticides and fungicides on regular produce is highly linked to cancer and should be avoided where possible. So you think about when something's not organic, it's fertilized, it's sprayed, it may be growing out of season. So it's so important to, if you can, eat as clean as possible. And that would mean buying organic versus non-organic. If you're fortunate enough to be in that position where you can buy organic, or you normally buy organic, you'll know where to get the foods from. So that's places like Sainsbury's. They do amazing, loads of organic alternatives. So that's where you can get it, and it's very easy to access. One dietary requirement that I absolutely live by going through chemotherapy when I had cancer, and this is probably the most controversial one, is do not eat sugars. This is so scientifically proved, and so many articles will come up. The first thing my nutritional therapist said when I was diagnosed with cancer and about to start chemo was avoid sugar. And it's really simple. Sugar feeds cancer. Cancer cells love sugar, so just don't have sugar, and then it will help reduce the risk of cancer spreading. Sugar is in a lot of processed things. So I'm celiac, I can't eat gluten, and funnily enough, sugar is actually lurking in a lot of gluten-free alternative products. So it's so important to check the packaging and just keep monitoring your sugar intake when you are going through chemotherapy and after. Swap your sugar for a daily juice, and it will help build the immune system, improve your gut health, and just keep your body strong while it's undergoing such intense chemicals flooding into the body every day through chemotherapy. Green tea is your best friend if you have cancer. And I'm going to tell you why. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I got a nutritional therapist to come and help me and tell me what foods to avoid and what foods to keep. Green tea contains the most powerful antioxidants, and it's so accessible, it's so cheap, and so I was recommended to have 2 to 3 green teas every single day. Before I even started chemo, to every day during chemo, to every day after chemo. I still drink green tea now religiously, and I normally go for the decaf option because it just doesn't give me the jitters. The reason why green tea is such a godsend is because green tea contains antioxidants which help support the immune system. And even better, if you're a matcha lover, I know matcha is the biggest trend ever. I am a matcha ride and die girl. I choose matcha over coffee all the time. And if you can, and if you like it, have matcha instead of green tea as well, or have both, because matcha contains very high antioxidants if it's a pure form of matcha. So when the color of the matcha is vibrant green, not that yellowy, like dull green, when it's like a vibrant, almost like fluorescent green, that's when you know it's the most purest, cleanest matcha. So check the packaging, check the ingredients, but if you can have a matcha a day, that's heaven if you've got cancer, because all the antioxidants will help keep that immune system strong as you're going through chemotherapy. And then when you finish chemotherapy, you'll have a nice immune system that can just rebuild once all the drugs have stopped. Another reason why I'm such a ride and die matcha girl is because it can give you that little bit of an energy boost, almost like caffeine does in coffee, but you don't get that sluggish slump after. You know, when you have a coffee high and you're like, oh, I can own the world, I can do everything, I feel amazing. And then you just are like, oh my God, I've just literally crashed. Matcha doesn't do that. So if you can swap a coffee for a matcha and introduce green teas, if you've got cancer and you're going through chemotherapy, chef's kiss. That's great. And the final dietary requirement that I live by personally going through my cancer journey and having chemo to keep my immune system strong was eating a lot of oily fish. Why? Because it contains omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory. And that is amazing because your body will be so inflamed from the chemotherapy and the cancer. It is so important to keep the inflammation down. So anti-inflammatory foods like omega-3, fish oil, it's going to be your best friend. And it's also a really great source of protein as well. As a quick recap, the 3 things that I did with my diet when I had cancer was to reduce inflammation in the body, was to improve the health of my liver, and was to improve my immune system and antioxidant status to prevent relapse. I've just told you the dietary changes that I made in my life, what I introduced, what I cut. And now I'm going to quickly go over the sort of shopping list that you can build if you are a parent or a loved one of someone who is going through cancer, or if you just want to know yourself and order. These ingredients are going to be your best friend, and they're going to help you achieve all the good stuff we've just mentioned, like keeping your immune system strong, keeping your inflammation low, keeping your protein up. This shopping list is going to be your best friend. So this was my weekly shopping list staple, and I've got this folder open right now because I have so many recipes in there and so much amazing knowledge from such talented people who really know their stuff about nutrition. So my weekly shopping list consisted of these key staples every single week. And when I say it was my mum's, because she basically made all this food for me because I had no energy and I was just focusing on getting through each day at a time. So if you've got a loved one, what I would recommend is to give them this shopping list and say, could you please buy me these, and then make some nice recipes out of them. All of these foods that I'm going to mention right now are really high in antioxidants and have really great anti-inflammatory properties. And then we'll move on to some little recipe ideas. So the way that we split out my shopping list when I had cancer was veggies, and that was veggies for eating, veggies for juicing. We then had a little category for fruits. And then we also had another category for like other essentials. So that's like maybe your carbs, maybe dairy-free alternatives, your lentils, your nuts, your mackerel, your salmon, your organic eggs, and things like hummus or almond butter. So things that you can basically add to the meal just to make it that little bit tastier, and just be that kind of like alternatives list of like introducing omega-3s through fish and avoiding dairy through dairy alternatives. What I would say is, if you have a loved one who is like, how can I help you? What can I do? If they could prep some meals for you using the shopping list, I promise you that would help you so much, because when you're going through chemotherapy, you don't have energy to do much apart from sleep, repeat. When I say repeat, I mean the chemotherapy. So if you've got a loved one who is just trying to help or wants to know what to do, maybe buying some of these ingredients could be one thing, and then another could make them, or the same person can maybe make 3 meals a week, just so you're filling your body with the nutrients and goodness that it needs to stay strong through chemo. So the first category of veggies, as mentioned, if you can get them all organic, that would be great, but if not, no sweat. So the veggies for eating, we had things like broccoli, cauliflower rice, kale, spinach. Sweet potatoes are a great carb, great source of nutrients. Tomatoes, courgettes, onions. Garlic has amazing anti-inflammatory properties, so that was used nearly everywhere I could possibly use it, to be fair. Things like avocados and chilies, aubergines and beetroots are really great. If you want a quick fix, maybe some salad leaves you could throw in there as well, just to create a quick salad. And then the veggies for juicing would be your celery, cucumber, ginger, carrots, beetroot, red pepper, and kale. Like those sort of ingredients for juicing are incredible. And what you can then do is pair them with the fruits that I'm about to say as well, just to basically flood your body with all the goodness. So the fruit shopping list consisted of things like lemons for juicing. Lemons are really great for detoxing the body. So I every morning have warm water, not boiling hot, with some lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, honey, and sometimes fresh ginger, all anti-inflammatory and can just keep your immune system really strong. So we've got lemons, we've got green apples. Green apples are really great because they have less sugar in them compared to like your red apples. And so they're really, really good for juicing. And then you've got your organic blueberries, and that could be for your breakfast, or just snacking on blueberries is such a great snack because it's so high in antioxidants. So it's great for the body. Also, you could also do some raspberries. Without fail, to this day, fresh blueberries and raspberries, and frozen as well, are on my shopping list every single week. I use the frozen for smoothies and juices, and I use the fresh for just literally snacking with a bit of almond butter. It's beautiful. And kiwis as well, really low in sugar, really great properties, really great healthy properties. And then your other essentials category shopping list, you can really, I'm going to read through this as a little bit of a mix and match, so we'll talk about it as we go through. But the nutritional therapist basically told me to get some dairy-free yogurts instead of like your dairy yogurts. So then, and also not soya as well. So we've got brands like Koyo, Coco, Nush, and Coconut Collaborative. They're really great brands that do dairy-free yogurts that taste delicious as well. I love the Coco one. It's so good. Root Health, the brand, they do great, really good quality almond milk, and so that's a dairy alternative. And they also do coconut milk, which has less carbs than your oat milk, so that's a nice thing to know and have as a swap. Jumbo gluten-free oats, so I am gluten-free, so this was very tailored to me and my dietary requirements. So gluten-free jumbo oats are great because again, they're just clean. They're just really great if you're making porridges, or again, like smoothies. You can whack them in with some fruit and maybe some like coconut milk, and there you go. You got a smoothie. And it also keeps you full for long. And one thing I would say is sometimes you don't have an appetite when you're going through chemotherapy. So to have a protein shake or like a smoothie on hand is great. You can just keep it in the fridge if they let you. Things like brown rice, tinned tomatoes, coconut milk, they're really good for like obviously making curries. And then you've got your kind of omega-3 category, which is your mackerel, really high in omega-3, great source, and wild salmon. So I was recommended to not get farmed. It's quite hard because it's so expensive, wild salmon. But again, if you're in that place where you can afford it, go for that over farmed. If not, farmed will do, as long as you're having your omega-3s. And then you go into like your organic eggs, and then seeds like seed mix, walnuts, almond butter, ground flaxseed. They're really great sources of good nutrients for your body. You can also get turmeric tea bags as well, which I actually should get some because they're really good and I used to have them. I forgot about them. Turmeric is like the king of anti-inflammatory. So if you can put turmeric in your smoothie, in your juice, in your curries, wherever you can put turmeric, I highly, highly recommend it. You can also make turmeric tea. So You can also make turmeric tea. So you can either put fresh turmeric and put it in some water. You can either put fresh turmeric in some milk with some honey and some other spices. And that's a really great way to get a really nice, warm, wholesome turmeric golden milk style milk. Or you can literally get turmeric tea bags, which just is good. Very pure from like your Holland and Barrett's or maybe Sainsbury's, I'm not sure. And so basically that was my weekly shopping list. So it's not a lot, and it's very accessible, and it's very easy to purchase from your Sainsbury's, your Aldi, wherever you shop. So that was it. You can always go back to this part of the podcast episode and rewrite that down or send it to somebody who can write it down. I just wanted to basically finish the podcast by giving some meal ideas, because I've got some sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free meal ideas that I think are great, whether you are dairy intolerant or you are doing what I did, which is cutting dairy out and sugar, or whether you're gluten-free like me. These are really great ideas. And also, if you haven't got cancer and you just want a good meal, there you go, sorted. So for breakfast, the sort of things that I would make from that ingredients list that I've just said are things like chai seed pudding. Now, I am a chai seed pudding fan. My mum came to London yesterday and I took her out for a birthday, tangent, and story time. And I had a chai seed pudding with coconut yogurt and then this like berry compote underneath with some fresh fruit on top, just strawberries, raspberries and blueberries. Oh my God, like you bet I'm recreating that. So a chai seed pudding is amazing for breakfast. It's also amazing if you're craving sugar because it's sweet and it's healthy and it has all those incredible properties to keep inflammation down, but also tastes great. So that was a massive favorite of mine. You can also flavor it with cacao or lemon or coconut or berry, dependent on your flavors and your preference. Green smoothies, absolute given. Had one every single day when I was going through chemotherapy and had one every single day after I finished chemotherapy. Absolutely amazing. Just chuck all the green stuff from the fruit and veg list I gave you in and you'll be fine. Other things like dairy-free yogurt with some flaxseed sprinkled on top, some granola and berries. Jobs are good and very quick and easy to make, and it tastes so good. And then also if you're a fan of eggs or a more savory option, you could also just do an omelette with some mushrooms and add some spinach on the side. All healthy, tastes delicious, and you've got some sweet and savory options there. I also love doing porridge as well. Like when it gets cold in England, porridge is my absolute go-to every single day. Like I love porridge so much, and I'm going through this like little body transformation thing at the moment, like just prioritizing my fitness, as you would have seen from my Instagram. And so protein porridge is my like ride and die at the moment. I love it. If it's not a protein smoothie shake with berries and banana and protein powder and water, which is very easy to make. Again, another recipe if you want. I do protein porridge. It's porridge, literally water mixed with protein shake, and then all the berries on top and a tiny bit of honey. Oh my God, it's so good. So good. So they're your breakfast ideas. Super quick, super easy to make, and all so clean and pure and contain amazing health benefits and properties. Now we go on to the grain-free lunches. So we're looking at things like homemade soup. So with all that list of vegetables, cut it all up and blitz it and turn it into a soup. It would taste amazing and seasoned with salt and pepper. You've got things like sweet potato. So you can bake your sweet potato and then put like guacamole or like chili on top. But again, keeping it clean. So avoiding things like the sour cream with the dairy. You can literally just chop some avocado up, maybe put some fresh chili in it. Jobs are good in. There's so many different types of salads that you could make from that list. So I'll leave it to your imagination, but things like the mixed salad leaves with some avocados, some like beautiful fresh tomatoes. You can even like bake the sweet potatoes and cut them into like chip size shapes, and then basically put some salt and pepper on. There you go. You've got a gorgeous little salad with like your garnishes. And then other ideas as well was like a quick salmon or chicken stir fry. That's a really great shout. Or like a Buddha bowl, which is one of my favorite meals in my whole life. Like a good Buddha bowl, it's heaven to me. And basically, if you don't know what a Buddha bowl is, it's a bit of everything. So it's a bowl with things like avocado, chickpeas. You could grill the chickpeas to make them like really nice and crunchy. You could have some hummus in there, some steamed broccoli, olives, sweet potato. To be fair, a Buddha bowl to me is like, I don't know if anyone's seen that trend, like girl dinner. That is my dinner when my boyfriend is away. So all I've been making is like sweet potato fries with broccoli, whatever's in my fridge I use. So broccoli, mushrooms, sweet potato, avocado. I just love it. And you just whack it all in a bowl and it's healthy, nutritious, and it fills you up. And then some other varying ideas, if you want a little bit of a change for dinner, some grain-free dinner ideas are things like mackerel with green beans and spinach. Super easy, jobs are good in. Things like sweet potato and coconut curry. I made this a lot actually, and I still make this a lot. And you can serve it with like cauliflower rice or just brown rice. It's beautiful. It's super filling. Other things are like your baked salmon with your sweet potato wedges, like I just mentioned, and you can put some broccoli in there to get some greens. Essentially what you want to do when you've got cancer, but just in general, if you're interested in like health, is to have like a colorful bowl when you look down, you know, like you want your food to look vibrant, and the more colorful, the more nutrients it's got in it. And as long as the nutrients are just literally like what it says on the tin, so a broccoli is a broccoli, it's not like a processed broccoli, for example, as long as it's clean, you're literally winning. Make it challenge yourself, make your food as colorful as you can, or whoever's making it, make it as colorful as you can, because you know you'll get the right things. So basically what your meal should look like is you've got your colorful vegetables, which take up half the plate. You're going to split 1/4 into a protein, so that's like an animal protein. If you're vegan, you can find another protein like tofu. You got your fish or chicken in that 1/4, and then you're going to split the bottom 2 into healthy fats, which is like your coconuts, your avocados, your olives, and then the other little bit is your spices. So that's the things that are so anti-inflammatory, like garlic, turmeric, cumin, all those beautiful spices that flavor but also have incredible properties for the body. So you want your plate to be a rainbow of colors every single day. And to finish this, the kind of anti-cancer diet that I went off is, as you can tell, just a normal healthy person's diet. So if you're already eating like this, keep going, because you are on that path, like you are already there. So the easiest way I tried to think of this anti-cancer diet was having 10 fruit and vegetables every single day and thinking, okay, how could I achieve this? So, you know, I'd have 3 in breakfast, and that would be things like a smoothie with spinach, courgette, and berries. And then lunch would be, again, another 3. So that's 6 already. And that would be something like a homemade soup. So you've got your onion, your carrots, your butternut squash, your red peppers. That's already 6. Then you can have a snack, and that can already account for like 2. So you could do carrots with celery and hummus. Great, easy. You got your 2 in there. So that's already 8 by the time you've had breakfast, lunch, and a snack. And then your dinner can have loads more to take you even over 10. And that could be things like a homemade sweet potato and vegetable curry. And that could have sweet potato, onions, spinach, courgettes, turmeric, garlic, ginger, kale, cauliflower rice. That way, if you aim for your 10 a day, or whoever's looking after you, or whoever is meal prepping for you, if you can count 10 a day from that shopping list through your breakfast all the way to your dinner, you are literally going to fuel your body with so much goodness to counteract all the harsh chemicals that are coming in through chemotherapy. So that is essentially the diet plan that I live by. It can be really fun, and you can try so many different new foods when you have nice recipes. So I hope you guys found that helpful. If you were looking for some sort of inspiration or guidance with what I personally did when I had cancer through my diet, what things I eliminated, what things I introduced, how many fruits and vegetables I aim for in a day. And I hope that shopping list was helpful in terms of what foods I basically consumed when I was going through chemotherapy and had cancer. And also, I will say, guys, like, it also sets you up for like a really good life after you finish your chemotherapy, or a really nice sustained life if chemotherapy is part of your normality now, because it's just really healthy, clean eating that has incredible health properties. And I think if you've got cancer and you have to live with it, or if you have managed to get rid of it and you have to live with the life after cancer and life after chemotherapy, you always want to reduce inflammation in the body. That is a given with diet, in life, whether you've got cancer or not. To keep your body's inflammation levels low is like a permanent goal of mine since finishing chemotherapy and having cancer. And you don't even have to have cancer to do that. Like, everyone should aim to have a balanced, healthy, clean eating diet where you can keep your immune system low. Yes, don't get me wrong, I do have chocolate now and then. And yes, I do have like a little takeout now and then. I hope you guys found that helpful. Please let me know what you think by leaving a comment on this episode on Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube, please comment what you thought, because I would love to know. I know this has been a very sought after podcast episode since I started doing this F the Noise podcast. So let me know your thoughts. If you found it helpful, if you wrote down the shopping list, if you passed it on to someone else, or if you sent this to someone who needs to see it, let me know. And as a little reminder, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that follow button on Spotify and hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Lauren Fiorenza Gill. And I will see you in the next episode. Much love. Bye.